Well, hello, that's me again. Today is Friday the 13th of 2024, and let's start with things which I have shown you in the beginning. And this is Vladimir Putin visiting the what is called the Holy Trinity Alexandr Nevsky Cathedral. It's Lavra, it's modern cathedral. It's a huge complex, and it's a beautiful building. And what he kisses is the container containing the holy bones or sacred bones of Prince Alexandr Nevsky. And who is Prince Alexandr Nevsky? He is Prince Alexandr Nevsky. He is to Russian culture something akin to George Washington, actually, in the United States, albeit it's a silly comparison, but this is what it means and he means in Russian history. And of course, in 1242, he defeated, before that, he defeated Swedes, and then he defeated Teutonic Knights, famous Battle of the Ice. And he negotiated their playing contribution to Mongol Tatars, but Mongol Tatars left alone the Russian Orthodox religion. And unlike it was the case with the West, which was going into Russia, trying to convert them into, well, make your own conclusion what into. So this is also Alexandr Nevsky. As you can see yourself, this Alexandr Nevsky has the full displacement of around 20,000 tons, and it carries enough nuclear weapons to wipe out pretty much, well, let's say this, to sink the United Kingdom. And as all this was happening throughout the last 48 hours, we can easily say now that it was happening when Mr. Putin stated this. And I want to start before I show you, well, elaborate rather on this, especially when Mr. Putin met Patriarch Kirill, who is the Patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church. That's the message. And the message was as, in regards to this thing. That was issued yesterday, and Vladimir Putin stated that, in no, confusing terms, that long-range strikes against Russia would mean direct involvement in the Ukraine conflict by NATO. And then we can go and take a look at what was specifically delivered there. And it means that, what have been talked about for a while, that any kind of the attempts of Ukraine to attack deep into Russian territory will mean that NATO countries, the US, European countries are fighting against Russia. With that in mind, Putin added, Russia will make the appropriate decision based on the threats facing us. And then, in this particular case, it's RT, but it was reported all over the place. One of the possible responses Putin mentioned at the time was arming Western enemies with long-range precision weapons. And so we can sit here and discuss this whatever we want, but I want to stress one thing. And that what is in the title of this video. Russia never issued any red lines. Red lines, this term, and this whole, system of lies built around it is a complete invention of the Western media and Western elites. There was not a case when Putin came out and said, this is a red line. No, there are no red lines. Russians do not fight like this, and they do not do those grandiose statements and gestures as it is the customary in, for example, Western culture nowadays, because you need to convince your brainwashed population that you are the best thing ever and they have to vote for you. No, Russia never issued this. It was all invention of the Western media and Western propaganda, and this is how the Western public, and including the Western politicians, politicians who bought into it have been, just basically living with this. Russians do not fight like this. They have their, strategic and operational objectives, and they follow them. And as a result, the West is losing yet again, and it is a historic loss of the unimaginable proportion, as some people say, once in 500 years. Yeah, probably once in millennium. So once in 1,000 years, something like this of this scale happens. It's like, Earth flipping or switching its magnetic poles. The same goes for the Western civilization, which completely destroyed itself. And so the question was that actually Russians had enough. And they know Russia has excellent foreign intelligence service and strategic forecasting, and Mr. Putin came out and said, okay, enough is enough, and it has everything to do with the panic and desperation in the West, which, who knows, considering the fact who runs the West, could have approached, some kind of the decision to say, okay, let's kind of, allow, not that it matters anyway, this whatever remaining F-16s to fly in close and launch something at, large civilian, concentration of civilians. Or let's try to hit something, very extremely important, from the point of view, let's say, strategic forces of Russia. And so in order for this not to happen, Vladimir Putin went to this Svato-Troitskaya Lavra, which is the Holy Trinity or Alexandr Nevsky Cathedral, and he kissed the sacred bones of the man who saved Russia in the 13th century. And guess what? That's what Vladimir Putin does. And this is not a hint. He went out to see Patriarch Kirill prior to the start of the special military operation. And evidently the West, which this Friday was supposed to make this decision, a still grandiose statement, to allow Ukraine, basically to commit terrorism against whatever they would try to hit there, including nuclear power stations, for example, in Kursk, so that's, that's what they're good at, to do terrorism primarily. And they understood. I want to remind you again the situation in 2021 with HMS Defender trying to violate the territorial waters of Russia. This is England, this is UK, these are the people who completely lost the plot, and then already you can go back, and I already elaborated on this issue. Vladimir Putin stated that, next time they come, we will sink it, and nothing gonna happen. And guess what? If you look attentively back at the times of the complete insanity of post-9/11 insanity of the United States, you may encounter such thing as Michael Ledin's doctrine, which was based around the fact that he said, once in a while we have to take some crappy country, throw it, at the wall, and just show that we mean business. Well, that crappy country, and I quote, make no mistake, Iraqis, please don't think that I insult your country, but that was Iraq. They thought that it will be easy going. So, and Russians, hey, why not to use a Russian version of the Ledin doctrine? And guess what? The main instigator of this terrorism against Russia, including the obviously planning with Pentagon, but it was primarily British, who planned this disaster in Kursk area. I will explain to you why it is disaster today. And you know what? Why not to take some crappy country like UK, throw it against the wall, and show for Russia that it means business? That's what Vladimir Putin went for, to pray and kiss the, sacred bones of Prince Alexandr Nevsky. And if you think so that Russians are joking, no. Evidently, well, today at the meeting in Washington, Mr. Starmer, the prime minister of whatever is passing today for the, a big, bulldog of United Kingdom, stated that no, there will be no, given permission to do anything like this. Apart from the fact that United States, and you remember, a few videos back, I was discussing this issue with you, with none other than economists, and other people saying that, what London thinks that it's too great and runs ahead of the pack, so to speak, that even United States have to tell them to, tone it down a little bit. And we know that United States evidently kind of stated that no, JASSMs, we're not giving them, and hey, we're not allowing to strike with our weapons deep into Russian territory, despite the fact that a bunch of their, fanatics from Washington Post and New York Times and, neocon community, so to speak, wanted that. But in Washington, especially people who have some military integrity and education, they understood the consequences of this. United Kingdom doesn't, as that is very easy to understand when you look at what the UK military is. It's pathetic. I mean, both Army and the Royal Navy. And I compiled you to you, and I want to forestall immediately any kind of complaints again that you're anti-English and things. No. People mistake or, do not understand actually the difference. I love English culture. I love English literature. I love English music, especially modern music, obviously, from Beatles to Pink Floyd and everything. I adore so many things about England, which are not there anymore. But we all grew up with Chaucer, and its translations, the Canterbury Tales, things of this nature. Jerome K. Jerome, for crying out loud, people, what you talking about? We grew up with English culture, with the best it could provide. But the problem is, I'm talking about the so-called British elite class, which is basically inbred cesspool. And those people are stupid because practically the most of their, so to speak, elite education in the United Kingdom from all those schools of journalism and history from Oxford and all those colleges, and military is pathetic. It's third world. So, and here it is, I compiled this table for you to understand what we're talking about. So here is the comparison of United Kingdom and Russia. And you can say yourself that United Kingdom, well, it's, if you look attentively, some data on the United Kingdom, on its productive capabilities, is literally hidden. They do not explain, for example, when you take a look at aluminum production or aluminium production, as British say, that, how much, Great Britain, United Kingdom produces. You cannot find a direct answer. The only thing which you find there, there is a problem in the aluminum industry in United Kingdom. But take a look at it. Russia produces 15 times more energy in million tons of the oil equivalent than United Kingdom. It consumes more than, and these are all data actually, for energy production for United Kingdom, it's 2023. For Russia, it's 2021. But it grew. But still, as you can say yourself, another 5 times more of things. And so you can look at steel. Russia produces, my God, it's 13 plus times more steel than United Kingdom. United Kingdom doesn't register on aluminum production. In motor vehicles, 2023, Russia is still recovering from the sanctions, but you know what? It already grew twice, and it's probably gonna cross back into 1.4 million production fairly soon. In commercial shipbuilding, it's again practically difficult to find anything. Obviously, United Kingdom is capable so far built of something of, like, I don't know, those hapless, aircraft carriers. But Queen Mary 2 is, it's just gorgeous ship. So I wish I could take the transatlantic on it. So, but you know what? Basically, Royal Navy today is a pale shadow of itself, of whatever it was before. Now, in military-industrial complex, as you can say yourself, given that Britain can still build some submarine or ship or frigate here and there, but again, it is completely dependent on the all other contractors and the United States, because most of the weapons, and especially strategic weapons such as Trident 2, D5, it is all, American Denmark on May 8th, and Great Britain or United Kingdom doesn't produce much in this respect. In STEM graduates, Russia also leads it by more than 4 times, despite the fact that having twice population. And again, out of those STEM graduates in United Kingdom, most of them are of not British origin. Advanced space program, I mean, it's laughable. And then, of course, commercial aviation. The only reason the percentage of it is kind of significant, all things considered, is because actually British, the United Kingdom definitely has its main jewel, which is of course Rolls-Royce. And Rolls-Royce engines, jet engines, power many commercial aircraft, both, Airbus and Boeing, and so in this case they do have this part of the commercial aviation still preserving it, albeit I heard there's a lot of problems there. Consumer goods, I don't know, nobody cares what, and yeah, in terms of agriculture, yeah. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek British cuisine, but yeah. So, yeah, you have the nincompoops and, chihuahuas, and who are very great, in propaganda and self-promotion, but you know what, at this stage, it's really becoming, how to put it politely, it's not even fair, okay? And the Ocean 2024 strategic exercises, which Russia conducts, they basically Russia rolled out its own navy on all 5 theaters of operation, so to speak, which are, of course, Black Sea, Baltic Sea, North Arctic, and Far East, and, of course, Caspian Flotilla. And all of them, those things, they have this funny little thingies, which, as you can see yourself, you see, this is the Project 22800 Karakurt, a small missile ship. This is Buyan class small missile ships, and this is Lake Ladoga. In red lines, as you can see yourself, this is a rough, basically direction, if you wish, of Neva River, which goes into the Finnish Gulf, near St. Petersburg, and connects also Lake Ladoga. As you can see yourself, it's a large body of water, and very large, in fact. And you know what is interesting? When I showed you these small missile ships, they have been transferred, some of them, just navigating Lake Ladoga. You know why it matters? Because, of course, they carry all those funny little things called 3M14 and even 3M14M missiles of the caliber class with the range of 2,500 kilometers. And if somebody from NATO decides to play stupid games, Russia probably will have enough salvo from those little ships, 900 tons of displacement, which can reach any point of Europe, including London, and including any kind of the stupid, bases, especially of the United Kingdom, which could be used as this proverbial crappy country to be thrown against the wall to show that Russia means business. And guess what? All those things considered, suddenly we have Mr. Peskov today comes out and says that, yeah, Putin's warning heard loud and clear. Kremlin states this, that Russian leader says allowing attacks with Western long-range missiles would make NATO directly involved in the conflict. And as Mr. Peskov, the spokesperson for Kremlin, says, the West has received and understood the latest warning by Russian President Vladimir Putin, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Friday. And the UK was the first country to announce the shipment of its own long-range missiles to Ukraine in May 2023, remember? Then, of course, there was ATACMS and all that, but it was London which was driving primarily in its desperate attempt to prove to everybody that they are not chihuahuas, which they are, that they still matter. And they thought that being aggressive with Russia, they play in the same league. United Kingdom is not in the same league with Russia. They are midgets, militarily, economically, and what have you. So they decided that they are superpower, which they are not. And then, evidently, when Mr. Putin went and, kissed the sacred bones of Alexandr Nevsky, and Ocean 24 strategic exercises commenced. That was a clear message. And United States understands the game. UK doesn't. As I already showed you last time, you have these two guys from CIA and MI6, Mr. Burns and Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore, look at his background. The guy has no clue what he is dealing with because they don't study anything. I looked at the intellectual capabilities of this British political class. It's pathetic. I mean, and again, I don't know, it's inbreeding, some kind of other things, which they are absolute degenerates, most of them anyway, but there are obviously exceptions, and some of them are extraordinary exceptions, but for the most part, it's a pathetic picture, and they thought that they can play the big game, and so they did. They really thought about it, and so let's go now to take a look at what we have in Kursk invasion. Let's go with the general losses. For yesterday. It is, as you can see yourself, all along the front, it's 2,300 KIAs, number of tanks, 46 armored vehicles, 50 artillery and mortars. And we go to our dear friend Marat Khairullin, and let's take a look what Marat tells us about. Here is the previous day map I showed you probably. It's look at this Nevelskoye cauldron, which is of course important. And as you can see yourself, all southern part of the front is on movement. And a lot is happening there. And so if you take a look now at the Nevelskoye cauldron, which is now the meat grinder, and you see yourself, Selidova is being mopped up, essentially. Russians are inside Selidova. And you see this Nevelskoye cauldron, not good. They cannot really escape there because the bottle neck, so to speak, is very narrow, and they are under constant assault. And as you can see yourself, all those, shaded blue areas, these are essentially parts of what is called strongholds or strong districts, which have been erected for the last 8 years in terms of their bunkers and all kinds of defensive positions. They are being taken as we speak. In Kursk area, the whole left flank of their so-called defense now collapsed. Russia liberated in the last week 10 plus, actually, I believe there is another 2 today, villages and all kinds of hamlets. And yeah, the pushing out of them continues, mopping up continues, and about 13 brigades have been committed to that adventurism. I am not even counting anymore how many have been killed there. By today, by all different estimates, more than 11,000 have been killed. That's the British military planning. That's your market garden. So what can I say? They better really review what their education is, especially military one, because this is third world guys, and they didn't understand what they were dealing with until Mr. Putin went and kissed the basically the coffin, if you wish, it's a very fancy one, with the sacred bones of Alexandr Nevsky, and things started to unravel. I don't think so United States would run to help United Kingdom if it really came down to it. But again, Russians do not want to kill English people at all. And again, many Russians, very many, love English culture. Mr. Roger Waters should go and, I don't think so he's gonna like his reception in Ukraine if he goes there, but he's beloved in Russia, and Russians love Pink Floyd. So if he comes to, give shows to Russia, great decision by men who I deeply respect. Now, but while this is happening, here is, and I love what my people from my discussion boards do. They also serve as essentially freelance journalists. They browse the media, and sometimes they come up with the critical pieces of information which I otherwise will miss. I'm only one, believe me, in this whole, ordeal. And here it is. This is shocking, honestly. You see this? International Monetary Fund September 12th, transcript of IMF Press Briefing by Speaker Julie Kozak, Director of the Communications of the Department. In IMF, International Monetary Fund, as I might remind you, is an American thing, really. It's an American organization, as pretty much most international organizations are. And here is the shocker. Look at this. Another one on Russian. She asks, Julie Kozak asks about what people want to think about Russians. And some people, questionnaire, journalist, whoever, just on the sequences of the Russia Article 4 mission, who initiated the restart of the Article 4 missions, which we haven't seen since 2021. Whether it was a Russia request or an IMF initiation of restarting that process, and anything else you can tell us about the events that led to the Article 4 being restated. It is, of course, Article 4 being consultations with members and actually deciding how to deal with, in this particular case, what they was designed as the outcast, which is, of course, Russia. And Julie Kozak says that any other questions on Russia? Okay, so on Article 4, so the IMF and all of its member countries have a mutual obligation to conduct Article 4 consultation. It is in our Articles of Agreement. Actually, in the case of Russia, since the invasion of Ukraine 2024, the economic situation has been exceptionally unsettled, which has made it difficult to anchor Article 4 consultations, especially thinking about the outlook and policy frameworks for both the near and the medium term. Now that the economic situation is more settled, Article 4 consultations with Russia are resuming. As I said at the beginning, in line with the obligations on both the fund and the member country. As in the case with Article 4 consultations, the IMF team will meet with a number of different stakeholders to discuss the country's economic development, prospects, and policies. And I think that I'll leave it at that. Where will they do that? They are coming to Russia. IMF is coming to Russia to discuss economy with Russia. And they're talking about that something has been settled in terms of the economy. Of course, something has been settled because obviously Europe is being economically killed while Russia is expanding with the incredible speed, and economic expansion of Russia is not merely dependent on the military production. In fact, if you take a look, the growth of Russian, especially high-tech industries, is insane. It is, 3-4 times more than whatever you may expect in the West. Granted that most of the West is actually shrinking, and this is coming back to our, my presentation of the United Kingdom. You go over any kind of the industry in United Kingdom, including not industry but such, government purveyance such as the healthcare. Everywhere are problems. Everywhere is shrinkage. In Russia, it's gigantic expansion across the board. So IMF suddenly decides to visit Russia. What for? Well, IMF is an American organization, essentially. It was created by the United States. It's run by the United States. What's going on here? Well, I can tell you what is going on here. Vladimir Putin went to, Holy Trinity Alexandr Nevsky Lavra, and he kissed the sacred bones of Prince Alexandr Nevsky, who is the holiest of the holiest in Russia. And something begins to happen. Well, I can tell you what my dear friend Nima was asking me yesterday. Is it in any way connected, for example, to the cursed catastrophe for the Ukrainian armed forces and their, curators in London and Washington? Absolutely. It has everything directly related to this, apart from Russia's economic expansion and increasing actually military production. It is directly connected. And then Russia means business. And that's what happened. And guess what? There is no way Europe or NATO can fight war with Russia and win. They will sustain catastrophic defeat if they decide to go the conventional way. If they want to start World War III, I think so. There are still enough frightened people in Washington, D.C., and even in United Kingdom who do not want this unfold, because guess what? One of the first who will get it, and it will get it in the big time, basically United Kingdom will cease to exist. So there you go. And what can I say? You can take a look at the number of the Trident missiles carried by the, whatever, couple of operational strategic missile submarines by the Royal Navy. They carry between 2 and 4. While Russians carry full 16 with multiple independent re-entry vehicles, and the latest version of Bulava will also carry the, all those avant-garde hypersonic vehicles. You cannot intercept, you cannot intercept, the West, NATO cannot intercept them anyway, even traditional ballistic missiles, but I mean hypersonic missiles, forget it, man, it's just not even serious. And this is what happened, and what can I say? Good! And again, keep in mind, Russia never issued any red lines. Russians were saying, don't do this, don't do that, we hope you understand this. Those people don't understand that until Vladimir Putin went out and kissed the sacred bones of the basically holy Prince Alexandr Nevsky. And this is what I wanted to tell you on the Friday 13th. And as you can see yourself, it's not necessarily too bad, you know, although we know what Friday the 13th means. So, and what can I say? As always, those who like what I do, guys, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee too. And have a nice weekend ahead yourself, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.